Do you worry that retiring too early means running out of money? I've worked with hundreds of retirees, and with inflation and markets constantly swinging, that fear makes perfect sense. But the truth is, retiring later doesn't actually make you any safer from these risks. So in this video, I'll show you the data that proves delaying retirement can cost you something more important than money, so you can finally feel clear and confident about retiring now. First, let me show you why more people than ever are worried about outliving their money. According to research from the American Academy of Actuaries and Capital Group, once you reach age 65, a woman in excellent health has a life expectancy of about 25 years, age 90, and a male in excellent health isn't far behind, age 88. Even a female smoker in average health can expect to live into her 80s. So with Americans living longer than ever, it makes sense why many feel like they need to delay retirement and keep saving. But when you do that, you're often planning for the wrong risk and missing the one that actually matters most. Dr. Peter Attia shows it perfectly in this visual. Across the bottom is your lifespan, how long you live. On the left is your health span, your quality of life, or how well you live. Now, watch what happens. The line stays strong for a while, and then it drops. Most people never plan for this part. It's the point where your health starts to fade long before your life does. The good news is, that drop isn't set in stone. With the right choices, you can push it further to the right, extending your healthiest, most active years deeper into retirement. But the problem is, most people never do. And it's not because they don't care about their health. It's because their focus is somewhere else. Watch what happens when we add one more line to this chart, their portfolio. It moves in the opposite direction, climbing higher and higher over time. But it comes at a cost. The very thing pushing that portfolio line up, working longer, harder, and under more stress, is what steals the time and energy you need to extend your health span. So if you want a longer, healthier retirement, the data shows it's not just about making your portfolio last longer. It's about making you last longer. And as motivating as that might sound, there are still other reasons that are probably stopping you from retiring. One of the biggest reasons I hear all the time from clients is, what about everything happening in the world right now? And it's hard to blame them. Just look at the headlines. AI poised to gut your retirement fund. Is 2025 the worst year to retire? With all that uncertainty, how can you retire? Let's say you're getting ready to retire, and I told you this was how your first 5 years would go. First, a global pandemic shuts down the world and markets drop 30% in weeks. Then Russia invades Ukraine, inflation spikes, and we hit another recession. Then a year later, banks collapse, war breaks out in the Middle East, and tariffs climb to the highest level since World War II. How would you feel retiring into that? Because that's exactly what someone who retired on January 1st, 2020 experienced. And despite everything, they didn't just survive that stretch, they thrived. At the time of recording this video, the S&P 500 is coming up on 7,000, more than double what it was just 5 years ago. And it's not just the last 5 years. If you zoom out across the last 50, it's the same story, just on a bigger scale. Take a look at this visual. Here, we have Vietnam, then 9/11, the dot-com busts, 2008, COVID. Every decade had headlines that made it feel like the worst time to retire. But history tells the same story. Markets recover. The hard part isn't knowing that, it's living through it. So when the next drop comes, and it will, how do you stay confident enough to stay the course? There's one simple framework we like to use, and it's what helped one couple get through retiring into the fastest bear market in history when COVID hit. They were watching the headlines, seeing the market crash, and thought retiring was the worst mistake they'd ever made. When we went through their plan, everything changed. We broke their savings down into 3 buckets: short-term, medium-term, and long-term. The short-term bucket held the money they planned to spend in the next 2 years. And that part was actually up year to date. That meant their lifestyle didn't have to change, and they didn't need to sell a single investment at a loss. And that was all they needed to feel more confident about their financial situation as the world felt like it was collapsing around them. Stories like this show how a good plan can help protect you from volatility. But there's one risk a portfolio alone can't protect you from. What happens when retirement isn't your choice? Every year, the Retirement Confidence Survey asks Americans when they expect to retire and when they actually do. The study showed that people picture working until 65, but the average person actually stops at 62, 3 full years earlier. And while a third of people say they'll keep working past 70, only about 6% actually do, which means for millions of people, retirement doesn't happen on their schedule. And this doesn't just affect their finances. A study from UMass Boston found that people forced to retire early were nearly 3 times more likely to feel depressed afterward than those who retired by choice. Because when it's not on your timeline, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like something's being taken from you. And that's what separates the happiest retirees from the ones who struggle. They're not running away from something, they're being pulled towards something bigger. So what actually gives life that pull in retirement? Across decades of research, from Harvard's 85-year happiness study to Viktor Frankl's work on meaning, the same pattern keeps showing up. 3 forces that make life after work worth living. I call them the 3 C's. The first C is like a muscle. It grows when you use it and fades when you don't. That's curiosity. It's what keeps your mind alive after the calendar clears. Whether it's woodworking, writing, or learning something entirely new, that sense of growth is what keeps you young. The second C turns free time into meaningful time. That's contribution. It could be mentoring younger professionals, volunteering at church, or serving your community. It's about using your experience for something bigger than yourself, knowing you're still a vital piece of the puzzle even after the paychecks stop. And the third C is the anchor that keeps you grounded. Harvard's 85-year study on happiness found one factor that predicts a long life better than cholesterol, blood pressure, or your account balance. Connection. The strength of your relationships. Whether it's family dinners, lunch groups, or shared hobbies, it's connection that helps you stay present and truly enjoy this next stage of life. When you have those 3 in place, retirement isn't something that happens to you. It's something you get to shape every day. So now you know why delaying retirement can lead to an even bigger risk than running out of money, costing you both your physical and mental health. But even once you made the decision to retire, there's still one fear that stops almost everyone from fully enjoying it: spending. The truth is, most retirees miss out on the experiences they saved their whole lives for, not because they don't have enough, but because they don't feel safe using what they've built. So if you want to see the data that helps retirees finally stop worrying about spending and start living the retirement they planned for, watch this next. It's one of the most important shifts you can make to turn financial freedom into actual freedom.